Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching. I'm sure by now most of you would have heard of the FTX Saga, and in this video I'm just going to briefly talk about my take on it and what to expect next. If you had asked me 1 or 2 years ago what are the most safe exchanges, I would have been like, okay, well that's easy. It's Coinbase, Binance, and of course derivatives exchanges. You might look at things like Bybit and then FTX. But it turns out not. This FTX situation pretty much came out of nowhere. But back in 2020, I was skeptical about certain things. It seemed to me like that within somewhat like a week or two, FTX seemed to have all of a sudden come to the top. There are some rumors that Sam Bankman-Fried, scam, bankrupt, fraud, some people are saying, might have had connections to politics. And I believe he has connections to politics in the family, potentially as well. But the exchange just rose up to the top, somewhat out of nowhere and knocking out a lot of competition. But ultimately the situation, in some sense, highlights how greed and leverage are the root of all evil. And obviously it's a very difficult situation. I'm going to simplify it. But ultimately, Sam Bankman-Fried, scam, bankrupt, fraud, some people are saying, over-leveraged his clients' funds and started trading with it. And of course he has connections to Alameda Research. But the actual token, the FTT token of FTX, just dumped. And so when you're so over-leveraged and your actual collateral FTT token just dumps, it puts you in a very difficult situation. And I'm aware that a lot of people were heavily invested in FTX and some had some kind of stake in FTX. For example, Kevin O'Leary. And a lot of celebrities have actually been affected, and people in general. So it's not an easy situation. And it just highlights that quote, when the tide is out, you know who's swimming naked. Very often in bear markets, you have certain phases. So I'm going to bring out this diagram. It's the Wall Street cheat sheet. It highlights the psychology of a market cycle. Obviously nothing is 100%, but it roughly follows this sort of structure. We've naturally had the bull market top, but I still do not believe we're at that capitulation yet. We might be in the panic stage, but very often in capitulation and this panic stage, you have some kind of big player going down. And it's just that expression, when the tide is out, you know who's swimming naked. And this situation, whilst FTX has gone down, I sincerely doubt that this is the only exchange that has been doing dodgy dealings. I'm sure within the next couple of days and weeks we'll find out what other exchanges have also been doing shady things with clients' funds. And so it will be really nice to see what other exchanges have done with clients' money and just more transparency. We are far from a bull market, and you have to also realize that the market does not go from a bear market into a bull market straight away. It takes a while to this accumulation phase. It takes a while for greed to build up. But generally for more institutional money to come into the space, I would say we would need SEC accredited Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs. Because naturally institutions and funds would rather put their money in safer custodial places rather than crap exchanges. And this whole saga just highlights the need for regulation into the space. And it just shows that we're still early in this crypto journey, really. Whilst we're not really early, we're in the kind of early majority stage. Once a lot of spot ETFs open, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum, people's pension funds and 401k can also be invested into this. And this will open up so many opportunities for crypto. And when these are granted, it perhaps might help with the regulation, especially after this FTX saga. And not only that, we also had the Luna bust as well, which also had a collateral impact. And this crypto savior, as people say, Sam Bankman-Fried, has pretty much screwed people over. And so we need to get rid of these bad actors in the space. When looking at the FTT token, it's not looking good. And this is an example of when you do not buy the dip. Because you don't want to buy the dip of something with really bad fundamentals. Okay, it could be a meme coin and it might pump later on. And potentially it might be a good trade, but I'm staying away from this. There are some imbalances here, for example, between this wick and this wick. There's some imbalances. I just don't see why you would trade this over other high probability setups. For me, I'm just sitting and watching, really. to see what happens. And I'm sure within the coming days and weeks we'll find out what other exchanges are doing, and they might also be doing shady activities. But this is also an important opportunity, I think, to really consider about where you're keeping your funds on exchanges. I would definitely not get it attached to one exchange. Perhaps diversify your funds across several exchanges. For example, you might try Bybit, you might try other exchanges, Coinbase, Binance, but always do your research. See how the exchange is actually using clients' money. Are they actually doing what they say they're doing? So I would in particular be concerned about exchanges that really have poor management of VC funds, exchanges with really little volume, and those exchanges that have really big advertising budgets despite all these weaknesses. Of course, we're in a situation where people are going to start questioning exchanges, and naturally panic will just create even more cascading panic. And I think overall what FTX has taught is that nothing is guaranteed in crypto. There's no free lunch. Anything can go down. There's no room for complacency. I would definitely recommend a Ledger Nano S or X as well. I'll put a link in the description below, and it's a referral link, so if you want to get one you might get some sort of discount. But a Ledger Nano X is a cold wallet to basically store it off the exchange, and it's just to secure you, it's just to give you that peace of mind. I would definitely recommend you buying the Ledger Nano X on the actual company website as opposed to online, for example third-party websites, because hackers might sell the ledger and put code into it in an attempt to steal your assets. But thanks a lot for watching, guys. That's everything I've had to say in this short update. But again, I still feel that we're not at the capitulation phase just yet, and eventually we'll find out which exchanges are doing dodgy things, and hopefully we'll get to see more transparency from these exchanges. And it's that old expression, when the tide is out, we'll see who's swimming naked. Ultimately, guys, what FTX has done is pretty much the equivalent of fractional reserve banking of the traditional finance system. And I just hope, for the sake of the crypto space, that more regulation comes in the correct, appropriate way without actually compromising what the actual values of crypto are. But thanks a lot, guys. See you in a bit.